Hi, this is Devendra Singh from Byteline, and in this video I'm going to show you Airtable to Webflow CMS sync. So we're going to build a Byteline flow with just two task nodes, and it's going to handle our update and insert into Webflow CMS, including images. So for the setup, I have this Airtable account here with a list of vehicles. And let's assume that you are building a content aggregator site for selling vehicles. So here is a list of the vehicles that I have. And let's assume that you got this data from say Webflow, say Byteline web scraper, or some other source. Um, so this is my Airtable data, and on Webflow CMS side, this is my collection, which is empty for now. So now let's build the Byteline flow. I'm gonna name it my auto site, and for this we're gonna pick Airtable trigger. And what this trigger does is it will keep on pinging Airtable to check if there is any records that need to be um, called for. So let's configure this task. So the first thing we need to do is Airtable base ID, so that you can just get it from here. So just follow the link, click on this link and select your base ID, and then my table name is my auto dealer, and then a view can be left empty, it's an optional field. And for poll period, by default it's 15 minutes, but you can pick based on your use case. For trigger type, I'm gonna pick create and update because I want this to be invoked for new rows and also for existing rows. So let's save this. And the next task node is Webflow update items. So now let's configure this. So first thing is we need to sign into Webflow CMS to build connection into Byteline. So select your site, and now you can close this tab, come back here and click on the refresh button. So I'm going to pick the site, and then here is my collection. So now it will automatically show you all the columns that are valid for that collection. So now we're gonna execute this task for each of the records that we get from Airtable trigger. And the way to do that is using loop over. So you can use the select button to select the expression for loop over, which is always an array. So in this case, it's only showing array elements that can be selected. And for Airtable to Webflow CMS sync, or for Airtable trigger node, the collection is all, the loop over is always gonna be records. So you pick this. And now let's configure these columns. And if you look into the collection, Webflow CMS collection, so these are all the columns, and that's what are showing over here. So again, we can use this selector to pick the data for the columns. So for the slug, I'm gonna pick the name, and for description, and for Airtable trigger node, for picking the values, you have to go to the this input tab, which is the first tab on this selector. So we were picking the description, and I'm gonna pick this short description. And then you don't have to use the selector for each and every field. If you remember the name of your Airtable column, you can start typing it and it will show you the auto complete options. So I'm just gonna quickly fill up all the columns. And for image, you have to pick the URL. And here, this is gonna be name again. Okay, so these are all our column mapping. And now let's save this. So now before we test this flow, let's make a change to one of the records in this Airtable so that we can see that coming and going into Webflow CMS. So I'm just gonna change like a pricing here. So instead of that, let's do this. So that's it. And now let's do the test run. So now this will take you to this flow status page and will show as the tasks are updated. So this is complete and we got one insert. And now let's go and check our Webflow CMS account. So you have to reload this. So I got this one item in the Webflow CMS and it also has the image. So see, it took the image as well from the Airtable record. So we have all the images for each vehicle, and that image also came into here. So that was our simple flow to sync data from Airtable to Webflow CMS. So now another interesting thing you can do is, so usually what will happen is, so you have this vehicle data that you got from some source. So maybe you want to review this data before you want to publish it to Webflow CMS, because once you publish, it's gonna show up on your website. So the way you can do that is, so keep a column in Airtable, let's call it status. So you can name it whatever you want. And then it has two values, created or published. So let's say we only want to consider the records where the status column is published. So maybe you reviewed this vehicle data and you are happy with it. So you can just change this to published. So now on the Byteline flow side, all you have to do is, so go to the advanced tab and specify filter here. So you can say that I only want to consider the records where this status field is published. Okay, so now let's save this, and we already changed the record. So now let's do another test run. And by the way, I'm doing test run, but eventually it's gonna keep on running in the background based on your poll period. So you don't have to do test run again and again, but you should at least do it once just to make sure everything is working fine. So now let's see over here. So insert. So again, it's only one because that's the record which we have changed. Okay, so now let's go over here and see our data again. So now we got the two records, so which is what we expected. So now the advantage of using published is, so you can keep on changing the other data, like the records for other data. So let's change this. Let's change this one. I mean, I'm just changing a couple of records just to show you that it's not gonna take those records because this status column is not matching. Okay, so now let's run our flow again. So now again, it will just take that one record which has that flag as the status column as published. Okay, thanks for watching this video. I hope you will find it helpful. Thank you.